Hey, so I think I might have, not needed to do this, but oh well. This is just me being a newbie and me loving to read stuff. I think from what I can tell, these are very similar. One, of course, is Brigade Fire and Fury. One's Regimental Fire and Fury. I haven't gone page by page to look for differences in them. I just kind of, I'll pick this one up and I'll read it. I'll pick this one up and I'll read it as well. The one big thing I wanted for this one, I love PDF copies because I can, if I just spill coffee or tea on them or beer, I can print another copy off, or I can send it to I can send a copy to my buddy James and he can read it. So that was one reason I wanted this. But the PDF copy did not come with these quick reference sheets, so you can buy them separately, but I don't know, I killed two birds with one stone. I got the quick reference sheets, I got a hardbound book, which I love, and it's great quality, and I got a PDF that is also, I find, very usable. So enough of that. So I've mentioned in other videos, this is going to be a Let's Learn Together video for Fire and Fury. You can be synonymous if you're doing Regimental or Brigade Fire and Fury. I've never played this game before. I've kind of read through the rules a little bit. I'm going to go probably, I'm guessing, about a 5-part video. Hopefully with a battle at the end, a quick battle, just to kind of, as I think I've seen the Two Fat Lardies do that, and it seems to work really well. I've enjoyed their format, so why not copy it? So this will be part 1, and I'll just kind of go through the beginning couple pages of the game, and then I think there's, well, we'll go into it later. I haven't even got it all figured out yet, but next up is like moving, shooting, and charging. They'll be their own videos, and just in case any of those get too big, I might move around a little bit and expand, maybe putting in a second or third video in each one of those sections. So we're really going to see how this goes, and this is really for me to go back and listen to when I'm painting, so I can learn how to play this game, because I do better, I think, in a video format, and it's hard to read and paint at the same time. I don't know if anyone else has got it figured out. You're way better than I am. So I don't find myself too irritating to listen to. Hopefully, if anyone else wants to try this game or wants to brush up on it, there you go. And 3, if you're watching a future battle report from this, you can kind of refer to these videos to kind of just be more in tune with the game, and know what's going on, just to make it more enjoyable. So, and then some people might just want to watch it for fun to laugh at me. So it's a 4-part thing, and if it works, that's great. So this is a big experiment for me. I plan on doing this also with hot and lead and cold steel, and I might do it with other games in the future as well. So we'll see. And I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me at this experiment. This whole thing has been fun, this whole hobby, so I'm just loving it. And here we go. So this is going to be titled Preparing for Battle. It's on page 4, I guess, of the book. There's some great art. All these rule books have phenomenal artwork in them. Where's this? Forget this one page. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah, so this is going to be Preparing for Battle. Thank you to these gentlemen for making the game and having fun with it. And got a table of contents in the front, which is always a winner. And we'll go from there. We'll turn this into a quick bench update too. I'm in the middle of touching up my, the Civil War guys already had, and I'm sprue painting 3 boxes of Perry Confederate Infantry simultaneously. I think I'm also got some Zouaves on the table too. The end goal for this 28mm Civil War stuff is, I think it's going to be 16 regiments of 24, and then I'm going to call this project done. The big push is going to be the smaller stuff, which we'll get into in the future. But that's going to be the one I'm going to do my big battles on. But I love 28 millimeters. It's been it's 90, basically everything I've done. So yeah, and then painting Perry's is just amazing. So yep, cranking them out. This will take a little bit of time, but yep, it should be. This will get me, I think, into the 10 regiment range for each side when I get done with 1 cavalry, and I've replicated my bases I've done for my Napoleonics with my Civil War. So 2 guns on a base. They're 250 by 100 bases stuck together, so 100 by 100 squares. This is probably one of the most boring battlefields I've ever created, but I'm just going to continue to embellish this as I kind of read through the book. Alright, so first thing is discussing stands. So this game is designed for 15 millimeter, but if you're going to do larger stuff, you basically multiply everything times I think 150%, and if you're doing 6 or 10 millimeter, you reduce everything by 75%. Sorry, I was looking down and reading, which I'm going to try to avoid a lot. All right, starting off, I'm going to go probably surround these scales. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to stick with my 6 millimeter. I might try Warlord's ACW Epic stuff, so jury's still out on that one. But right now, just to get into the rules, let's see if I like it or not, and to actually learn some stuff, I'm going to do a 28 millimeter. So we'll be multiplying everything by 150. And no, I'm not multiplying by 150. We'll be using 150%. So sorry about that, everybody. So hard and fast is no, as long as you use the same size bases for everything, you're in business, is from what they can tell. They based a lot of their stuff on, 3 guys to a stand to make it easier to remove stuff and to move, but you can accomplish the same thing with movement stands or casualty markers, just as long as you're using the same scales and the same bases for your 2 opposing armies. So for this version, I'm going to be using 28 millimeter guys. My standard infantry unit is going to be 24 gentlemen. I'm just going to take just say a base is 2. So an average for a regiment is 8 to 12 troop stands per regiment. Each guy stands for 40 men. So I'm going to use, if you divide 24 by 2, I'm going to have 12 stands for this unit. I'm going to do the same thing for my cavalry, but the base unit is going to be 12. And artillery I haven't figured out yet, but I know you just have like 2 guns per stand. Each gun's supposed to stand for 2 cannons, so that'll be 4 guns for a battery right there. There's particular markers you need for the games. I don't know how many I'm going to accomplish this with either using General Day Armée stuff, or I'm going to make my own markers, and like I usually do. And I might get some too, but I'm not going to wait on playing while I do this. I think I can make some caissons. I already have the horse holders. Perry's making an awesome model, but the rest of this stuff I do not have bases for. I really want these 2. As Perry has an awesome wagon, and they have an awesome physician and wounded, like an ambulance kind of thing. So I'd like to get into both of those. But the stands you need are, disordered marker, low ammunition marker, damaged gun marker, the horse holder I talked about, limbers, ammunition supply, and heavy casualty markers. Get into the specifics of each of these, probably as they come up, but a lot of them are kind of like you can figure out when you're, so I'm not going to insult you guys and tell you what these mean, but yeah, so we'll get into these more later, but these are just the markers you need. Order of battle, we understand that, of course. That's just your standard miniature wargaming stuff. You've got your regiment as your base unit, got your brigade, and then you've got your division, and then your division goes into corps, your corps goes into armies. Yeah. This goes into talking about their base units and the regiment being that, you know, they said at the start of the war, most units had 800 guys, but as they got wore out, most of them drifted down to 500. As I guess there's a neat little historical side in here. The Union, as regiments got wiped out, they would just get rid of them and start another one. The Confederates reinforced their regiments, keeping them with new guys mixed in with new recruits mixed in with some grizzled veterans. So I don't know which was better, but it's kind of neat that you have the historical flavor here. If you go with each base is kind of 40 guys, or each single guy is 20, this ends up being 480, but you can go the other way and say each guy's 40, and that's 900. So that would be a massive regiment. So unit experience is broken into, I think, 4 categories. You've got green, which is 6 months less of service, almost no combat experience. Trained, less than 6 months of service, maybe 1 battle, and it was a smaller engagement. Veteran is over 6 months of service, performed well in 1 battle, and crack is a seasoned unit with a record of performing well in several battles. On top of that, there's also 3 morale levels, which is kind of interesting. It gives you more flavor. So you can have a crack unit that's like completely worn out or anything like that. So you can have spirited, reliable, and unreliable. So maybe they've just seen too much. So it's got this game's got a lot of tables, which is, I'm okay with that. Since we're going to be doing units of 12, where's my finger? And you can see the spirited, reliable, and unreliable. And this shows you when you get the different levels of casualties or unit effectivenesses: fresh, worn, and spent. And you can do, let's say you're a spirited unit. We're going to be using this 12 category because that's the amount of bases I'm going to have in each one of my regiments. They're fresh until they get to 8, then they go to whatever the next level down is, which is worn, and then they're spent when they get down to 5. So they'll have, when they have 10 guys left, or 5 bases, they're about toast. So this is a casualty removal game, which is cool too. I don't mind that. I can go either way, but it's fun doing something different every time. And these can go all the way up. This this goes down from like little tiny units of 2 guys all the way to that's at 25 at the bottom. So that's you can go wherever you want. There's a lot of versatility in the rules as far as I can tell. Weapons wise, this gets really detailed. You got rifle muskets, inferior rifles, smoothbore muskets, repeaters, rifle carbines, shotguns, and hunting rifles. And yeah, that's nuts. Then they get into artillery. You can have a light rifled gun, you can have a heavy rifled gun, a smoothbore gun, a light howitzer. So a lot of flavor there of basically the captures. That's what was really kind of cool about the Civil War, in my opinion, is the technology was outpacing the tactics. So you've got these devastating weapons, and you're still trying to get guys in line. They started using, I guess they started later on in the war, of course, they started correcting a little bit and using a lot more cover, but at first these guys were getting in the fields like they had in the 16s and the 1700s and blowing each other away. So with much more deadly weapons, which kind of is the same effect, in my opinion, that you had in the World War I, where you got guys jumping out of trenches, but here comes a machine gun. Those human wave attacks just didn't work so well. And yeah, you see the same thing in the Civil War. All right, labels. I love labels. This game uses labels, and you kind of have to use them. So phenomenal. I'm very happy about that. You've got the different labels depending on what kind of unit you are. If you're a troop, if you're a gun, if you're a leader, and you basically can print them out and fold them. You can do whatever you want, but you'll have all your unit characteristics on here, which is kind of handy too, so you don't have to refer to a written out list. Everything's right there at your fingertips. So here's my brigade commander. 1st Brigade. His name's Harris. He's gallant. We'll go more into the different leadership levels later. He's under the command of Divisional Commander of Rousseau. That's why he's in parentheses up there. It's one of the infantry regiments. You see, it's under the command of Harris. It's the 33rd Ohio. They're trained. You've got your stat line there. I might have those wrong. I have to go back and look at those. I think I did these wrong. But this would show your fresh worn. Yeah, because I've changed my mind since I did these. So I'm going to go with 12. So these are just an example, but this would show you would be 6 your fresh, 5 your what's the next level? Oh God, sorry about that. So you'll 6 your fresh, 5 your worn, 3 your spent. So sorry, that's how it steps down. And the RM stands for these guys have rifled muskets. All right, for the unit experience, I put them down as trained. But every scenario, every unit, and you can do your own, you can balance. I think there's even points in the back of this, but we can get to that later. Example of artillery, you've got Harris, 4th U.S. Battery. He's trained, and he's got a light rifle, which is usually either it's a 10-pound Parrott or a 3-inch ordnance rifle were the main light rifled weapons, I believe. All right, now it's starting to look like a little bit more like one of my battlefields. All right, terrain is classified a couple different ways. First of all, it's designated as either area or linear. So things like linear can be like fences, of course, stone walls, a row of trees like that. The area stuff would be hills, wheat fields, corn fields, wherever kind of field you got. I guess a river would be linear. And then you can also have a group of, like a forest or a group of trees or copse of trees, I guess, whatever you could say. That would be area too. All right, then after that, then you further rate it as either movement difficulty, line of sight, cover, and defense. So those are the farther breakdown. All right, discussing movement difficulty. There's 3 levels. There's open, broken, or rough ground. Open ground, a clearing, cultivated fields, roads, does not affect movement at all. I'm not sure farther on if like you wheeled stuff or if it goes even faster on roads. I'll get into that at some point. But those do not affect. Open ground does not affect movement. Rail fences, stone walls, any kind of field works, stream gullies, ditches, embankments, woods and brush, muddy or rocky ground, and even a steep slope can be considered broken ground. And then the last piece of the puzzle is rough ground. It's stuff like rivers, forests, thick woods. I'm assuming swamps. I don't think I'm going to have too many swamps. Field works, like serious field works. Very, very steep slopes or rocky slopes or cliff. Those are all rough ground. I think you can even have a major obstacle is also another higher classification of rough ground. And that's basically a giant wall or something impassable. So you're not going to get past that at all. The big thing is on the movement chart we'll get into later on in the movement part of this tutorial or learn to play. The chart, basically how far you move, is really dependent on what kind of terrain you're going through. The second if you're in clear ground and you go into this, you're immediately impacted by the terrain as you get to it. Here's an interesting note. In addition to causing units to move at a slower rate, terrain features also can cause disorder. A green unit is marked disordered if any of its stands move through broken or rough ground while changing formation or performing a passage of lines. A charging unit is also marked disordered at the end of the combat if it moved over broken or rough ground to reach its target. That is something I will totally forget. Another tidbit of referring to something I might have asked about earlier, a road is a linear terrain feature that provides a special movement rate for units in march column, limbered guns, and leaders moving along the road. Some roads can be rated in poor condition. A poor road does not provide a special movement rate, but it is treated as open ground when it passes through terrain features rated as broken or rough ground. Line of sight blocking terrain is big when you get into the command phase. Some terrain features reduce the distance to which a unit and leaders can see other friendly and enemy units. The line of sight is important for determining the command radius of leaders and limits the maximum range a troop or gun stand may fire. A line of sight is reduced to 4 inches through dense woods, thickets, swamp, and brush. Visibility can be increased to 10 inches for sparse foliage such as woods or cleared underbrush or leafless trees in the winter. I'm not doing winter, so that's hosed. Also, a cornfield that's after harvest before harvest, it can be a 4-inch visibility, considered thick. But if after you pick it, it's good. So, gotta know what time gotta have your green thumb for this game. Most hills should be marked with a crest line. I kind of do the flat part for that. That might affect me more when I do smaller scale stuff. And there's rules if you're 1 inch of the crest line, you can't see over, and all that wonderful stuff. And then cover is like one of the final terrain features, where you can have 3 different classes of cover, or partial, full, and fortified. I think you can figure those out. I think like a little fence like that could do, partial. A stone wall would be good cover, and then if you had a fort or a palisade, or you were dug in some kind of defense, there you're in business. I think hiding in woods would also get you some cover too if you're firing out of woods. You can also have pre-built-in defensive positions, which are great for charging. You can have favorable ground. Defensive positions, the defender receives a positive dice roll modifier if half or more of its unit stands are aligned between terrain features. There are 3 classes of good positions: favorable ground, strong position, and fortified. Add 1 to the defender's dice result if the terrain feature is rated favorable ground. Examples of favorable ground would be a defending unit aligned behind a low stone wall or a shallow ditch, occupying a wooden building, woods, or uphill of the attacker. Add 2 to the defender's die result if the terrain feature is rated a strong position. Examples of strong positions are aligned behind high walls, deep ditches, breastworks, or occupying rocky ground or stone building. A strong position can also be rated as fortified. A fortified position provides an additional advantage. If defending unit is in a fortified position, is defeated by a hard press effect, the unit remains in its current position, and the winning attacking unit must retreat instead. So that's pretty good if I can get a fort. A fortified position could be a stone building prepared for defense with loopholes, barricades, or entrenchments with a ditch or in front of it. So that's kind of hot. So that'd be that scene at the end of Glory when they're charging up that wall with all the damn. I can't remember the name of that fort in Charleston where they're attacking it. All right, when units come on the table or off table, when they're basically the game starts, they can be classed as in 3 different statuses. You can be activated. Let's say these 2 guys are activated. These 2 units. Reserve units, which possibly could be these guys, are kind of out there hanging out in the back. And you can have off-table reserves and reinforcements that can come on later on. I think they also have off-table artillery, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure if I'll use that. I kind of like doing models, but you never know. I could have some naval gunfire or something like that. That would be a great opportunity for something like that. Now this I thought was really neat. Game turns are in probably 10 or 15 minutes. I'll probably do 15. And then they break down the clock for the month you're in, and they show you when dawn is and twilight. So you could basically, by the time the game starts, you could literally just run a clock, which is kind of neat. A big issue for me is I've kind of done the math on this. If you want to do like an early game to all the way to the afternoon during the summer, You could be playing 30 turns, which is, woo, that's a lot. But you maybe need it for a huge game. So I also have to keep that in mind for later on. Victory conditions are usually scenario driven. I mentioned the quick reference sheets that are included. I use 10-sided dice for this game. These templates come in both books. The PDF has them, but they don't have this. You have to buy this separately, the quick reference sheet. These templates for firing and for wheeling are you just cut them out in the back, which I'm gonna do that one. And that's it. So that's the first chapter. That was not very organized, and I apologize, but you know, heck, I told you I wasn't an expert at this game. I do have to change my markers for my units, and I'm gonna have a thought if I want to do three per stand, or want to stick with 2 per stand, because I'll have to read the chapter on shooting before I commit to that, because I think you can have so the more stands you have, the more shooting, the more damage you can do. So we shall see. I don't want to get out of control and start blowing everybody away. And but we'll see. And I will definitely play around with these rules. The nice thing about this, with single mounted units, is a pain in the butt for moving them, but it's nice for formation changes. Very easy to go into extended line or deny the flank, or into a column, or into a march column, or just, you know, you can do it all very easily. You don't have to have markers. When I play the smaller scale stuff, I'll have to have an extra card or extra marker designating what formations some of these units are in. There's even broken formations. There's all kinds of really cool formations. There's deny the flank, I think I mentioned earlier. So yeah, so this is kind of nice to have the single base units for that. And then casualty removal too. I don't have to use my markers, just kind of remove guys and they're done. So okay, that's number 1. Sorry it was a train wreck, but it'll be good to go back and read it, or listen to this and learn from it. And next one, I'll start going into the combat stuff. I'll start looking at movement, and then shooting, and then charges, and then a kind of a cleanup. So hold on there, and it might be a couple days till I get that. I'm painting in between, so I might be a little break in here while I power paint these Confederates. Working on 5 regiments simultaneously, maybe six regiments simultaneously. Sorry about that. So yeah, so the whole thing is to get this done and then have a big game at the end, a teaching game or a learning game. So cool. All right, guys, have fun, and we'll talk to you soon.